You think you know who you are. You say, this is me, this is what I believe, this is what I want. But what if that voice in your head is just a part of you that learned to survive? Carl Jung believed that most people spend their whole lives wearing a mask, and they never meet the self that lives behind it. You wake up each day and perform. You smile when you're supposed to. You stay quiet when it's easier. You chase goals because that's what everyone else is doing. But inside, something feels off. You look around and think, is this really my life? Or just the life I built to be accepted? You say you're fine, but deep down you're exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from being someone you're not. You were never taught to find yourself. You were taught to fit in. So you trimmed parts of your personality. You buried your doubts, your sadness, your questions. And somewhere along the way you lost something. Your real self. Carl Jung didn't just study psychology. He lived inside it. He broke down mentally in his late 30s as stepping away from fame and Freud and went into what he called creative illness. He began journaling dreams, visions, symbols, trying to make sense of the parts of himself that didn't fit his public identity. This led him to one of his most powerful ideas, the self. According to Jung, you are not just one thing. There's the ego, the part of you that says I, the conscious mind, your identity. But beyond that is the self, the totality of who you are, including the parts you haven't met yet. It includes your dreams, your emotions, your instincts, your fears, and your highest potential. The self is not something you create. It's something you uncover. But why can't we see the self? Because between your ego and your true self is a shadow. All the parts of you that were rejected, ignored, shamed, or feared, you pushed them down. And over time, you forgot they were even part of you. Jung called this the shadow, the dark side of your personality. But it's not evil. It's just unconscious. And as Jung said, the shadow is 90% pure gold. The rage you hide, its power. The shadows you numb, its depth. The dreams you abandon, they're clues. Everything you buried didn't die. It waits in silence, shaping your behavior. You lash out, you run away. You sabotage your own growth, not because you're broken, but because the shadow is pulling the strings from behind the curtain. Jung calls the process of becoming whole individuation. It's not self-improvement, it's self-reunion. It begins when you stop pretending to be someone you're not, when you start to observe your fears instead of hiding them, when you listen to your dreams instead of silencing them. It's not a straight path. You don't level up. You descend. You descend into your unconscious. You face your childhood wounds. You admit your secret addictions. You feel your unspoken grief. And in that descent, you begin to gather your missing pieces. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who always smiled, always helped others, always avoided conflict. Everyone loved him except himself. One day, he had a breakdown. He couldn't keep up the performance, so he started journaling his emotions, dreams, and memories. He remembered being told as a child, "Don't cry, be strong." Don't be weak. So he became strong by killing his softness. Through tears and silence, he wrote for months. And eventually a dream came to him. A child crying in a locked room. He opened the door. And the child said, "Thank you for seeing me. That's the journey. That's individuation. Reuniting with the parts you locked away. When you begin to integrate the shadow, you change. Not because you become someone else, but because you finally stop running from who you've always been. You begin to speak with truth. You say no when it matters. You create what calls to your soul, not what pleases the crowd. You may lose friends. You may shake the ground under your feet, but in that shaking, you stand tall. You realize you were never broken. You were just fragmented. And every wound you face is a doorway back to yourself. Carl Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." You've been dreaming long enough. Now it's time to awaken. Don't waste your life playing a role. Go within, face your shadow, and become what you were born to be. Your whole, true, undeniable self.